Hello everybody, thank you for being here today. If you keep up with my videos, you know I really love the Laura Geller brand. I think they have some amazing products. I think they're very underrated. I have a whole video talking about a really poreless foundation routine that involves her Double Take Baked Powder Foundation and the Spackle Mattifying Primer. Like, I've really come into some different things that I enjoy so much. And then there are more long-standing things for me, like the Bronze and Brighten, Balance and Brighten, the blushes that I've really used on and off for years, and I just feel like it's a really high quality brand. Well, not that long ago, I want to say about a month-ish ago, I got sent a couple of big boxes just chock full of Laura Geller makeup. So one of them had face products and the other one had eye and lip stuff, and a lot of it was stuff I'd never tried before or maybe never even knew existed in the line. And so that's what I'm going to make my full face out of today, is some of this other stuff that I just never really knew that much about from this brand. But if you've got a familiarity with some of these things, please let me know in the comments section what you think about it. One of the things that was sent was, instead of just the Spackle Mattify, which I really like, by the way, it goes on, and you might think with different mattifying primers like, oh, it's going to make you look chalky or dry, but it really doesn't. The texture is absolutely beautiful. It just basically takes away the look of your pores. But another kind of spackle was sent here, and it's the original, and it says Ethereal Rose Glow on it. Sorry, I got a band-aid there. I cut myself while trying to saw open an English muffin yesterday morning. Yep, serrated knife feels amazing on the tip of the finger. So anyway, I'm just blending this in, and you will see the really pretty soft glow, but yet you don't feel like the product actually has shimmer in it. But look at the radiance just immediately. It's fun when primers just do something for your skin and you notice it right off the bat. It's kind of exciting. This adds a lot of moisture as well. And I believe there's also like a champagne tone. Another thing that came that I was not familiar with at all, I had heard about this, but I'd never tried it. It's the Quench and Tint Hydrating Foundation, and I have this in light medium. And this, I think, is kind of a neat little product here. I think it's great that she has that option outside of just the baked product that she's known for. It's nice to see that there are some other like alternatives, other formats. So I squeezed out about a pearl-sized amount. I'm going to dab this around and you'll be able to see what kind of coverage this gives. It's really light coverage, but very, very hydrating, and it kind of just gives the skin an overall little perk up, you know? I would say it's also not even quite as much coverage as what I see out of the Wet n Wild Bare Focus Tinted Hydrator. So while I like this product and I think it gives the skin just a real dewiness, and that may be what some people want, light coverage, but like a big hydration boost, it's not a bad product. It's actually really, really pretty on the skin. But I don't come away from this personally feeling like, oh, this is a mega must-have. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, it's nice that that's offered in the line, but I probably still wouldn't seek it out to buy it again. Now, concealer-wise, I had talked about the Ideal Fix Concealer from Laura Geller. This is like a newer concealer. It's a really nice high coverage, you know, doe foot applicator concealer. But also sent in my package was the Real Deal concealer. I remember when this was in a little bit different packaging, and I used it years back. I remember being in the other house. This says Advanced Serious Coverage, and I have it in light. And this really is thick and really creamy. It kind of reminds me of IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Under Eye. It's just really, really a potent concealer. So I'm going to dab this around and then blend it in, and you'll see what I mean. Like, it has moisture, a lot of moisture, and in with that is some pretty potent coverage. I would say this feels maybe a little bit lighter than what I remember using, and it was in like kind of a little rectangular shaped squeeze tube before. This seems, I could be wrong because it has been a long time, but this seems a little bit lighter than that stuff. But I'm just dabbing it all around. That skin tint gave very light coverage, you know. Then I'm going to dab over this. I'm just using that same brush, the Real Techniques Expert Face brush. And you can see this handling a lot in this area. This is not a concealer that's going to like dry down on you real quick or anything like that. It's kind of along the lines of the Maracuja concealer from Tarte. It's called Maracuja Creaseless Concealer, and it has that really emollient quality to it. Pressing that in everywhere. And this is the Pro Concealer number 57 brush from Sephora, and it's just kind of like an extra fingertip, and I just use that right here around the inner corner. Look at that. Like, the coverage is really, really beautiful there. Any amount of coverage that you see around the eye area, that's what this handled, because the Skin Quench and Tint didn't really cover that much. So yeah, I feel like the addition of that gives the skin a really flawless glow, and I just have kind of a dewiness all over. It's definitely the kind of feel all over my skin that I would be very tempted to set in order to have my all-day staying power. I'm kind of a normal to dry skin type, and really here lately, very much just straight up normal. Like I haven't had a lot of dry trouble patches on my skin. Trouble patches, what are those? It's early, y'all. I remember thinking in another Laura Geller video I did, using the different powder foundation things and thinking like, okay, we need something light available to set the under eye, either a loose powder or a pressed translucent powder. I was feeling the need for that, and I didn't even realize that she actually does make that. This is called Matte Maker Advanced Oil Blotting Face Powder. And I don't believe this came with any kind of puff or sponge, which is a little bit odd for, you know, what might be a travel touch-up powder. But I will just use my e.l.f. small tapered brush here. And this gets the job done. To me, it just feels like a real standard translucent powder. As you can see, it's mattifying my glow. It is doing what it says it will do. It's decreasing the look of any pores around my nose area, for sure. So yeah, it makes you matte. I just wouldn't say like, oh, you have to spend Laura Geller money on this, because you just can't get it elsewhere. Like, I've got some Milani Make It Last setting powder, and it's probably about the same kind of deal, you know? The texture of this is nice and soft, and that can be something to watch out for when it comes to over application. When a purely white translucent powder has a very soft texture, you can sometimes run the risk of looking too powdery, too cakey, too dry on the skin when you apply it. There's a reason why Too Faced Primed and Poreless, like, that really does a good job on the skin, because it's super firm. It's white, but it's firm, and you don't get too much on your brush at one time. This, you have to pace yourself a little bit in terms of the amount, but I do want a little more setting all over the rest of the face. I think what I'll do is just do a dusting of Balance and Brighten all over the rest. So I've mentioned the Double Take Powder Foundation. That was a big part of the matte and poreless foundation routine I mentioned in a past video. That looks like this. There's no swirled, marbleized powder thing going on here, but it is a baked powder foundation. Balance and Brighten, of the two, is the more like light coverage. Light, probably building to medium coverage, I would say, with this. And so all I'm gonna do here, I wear this in medium, and this is something I just already had on hand, but I'm just going to blend this lightly all over the rest of the skin, just to kind of get an all over even texture. And it is adding a little coverage, by the way, as well. Now, as far as bronzer goes, I knew about Bronze and Brighten, and I knew that came in multiple tones. Like, I wear the medium in Bronze and Brighten, and I think it's one of my favorite bronzers that I own. It never fails me. It gives the perfect tone, perfect amount of pigmentation, and I love, like, the swirls of different tones within it. Also, that stuff will just flat out last you forever. And I didn't know that they had a baked Bronze and Brighten in a shade called Tuscan Sun. So that was sent my way, and look at this. It's like got some glow to it, much more glowy compared to regular Bronze and Brighten. I'm seeing a shimmer, if not a satin finish, maybe more satiny finish on the deeper brown up here, and then like a shimmery, sort of peachy copper swirl in there, along with some golden swirl. So I'm going to use this today so you can see what it's all about. It is pretty, it's pigmented, but it's just a more glowy baked bronzer from Laura Geller here that I just didn't even know existed. See that? I really like it, actually. This was one of the very fun finds out of this whole bunch of things that was sent my way. And no, there was no like requirement to do a video. This, like, the package came out of the blue. I don't do like required videos from brands. I don't do sponsorships because I just like to maintain the decision-making control over my channel and whatnot. But obviously, receiving what I did, it made me look through things and go, oh, you know, this is a brand I love, but there's a lot I didn't know about here. So it's fun for me to put it all together here for you. So see that? I can totally contour with this. It is a little warmer, definitely, quite a bit warmer compared to my regular Bronze and Brighten. That's right, today Pre-K Drop-Off says, where'd you get that tan, girlfriend? Nice. No. Nobody really notices. We just all kind of float in and float out, it seems like. So that is all over. It's got some glow. Maybe you can kind of see a little bit on the forehead what's going on there. Really happy with that bronzer. I think that was a fun find for me. Now for the blush, I got a split pan blush with a couple of shades I'd never tried before. This is called the Multi-Purpose Duo in Ethereal Rose and Subtle Satin Berry right here. So both are swirled colors. That Ethereal Rose looks very, very soft, but I am gonna apply some of that. Pick it up with my e.l.f. blush brush. See how that's practically like highlight? Like, it's really interesting. I had to put it on first so you would really know where what I put on was coming from, but it just gives you like a subtle pearlescent kind of pinky glow. To me, this is kind of like blush and highlighter together in one, because this doesn't often offer much blushy color, but my goodness, if you've ever wanted the most natural pearly highlight, that's great. Maybe a little step up sheen-wise compared to Baked French Vanilla. And then we come over here to this side, which is the Subtle Satin Berry. And this is my jam. I love this glowy kind of berry blush. I mean, look at my shirt. I'm wearing another one of these little Walmart like sort of thermals. A lot of people thought the last time I wore a shirt like this, they thought it was a sweater. It's actually super thin and lightweight. Came from Walmart. It's from like the No Boundaries line. My other one had like green and brown and I think a little yellow in it or something. And this one is like shades of berry. Anyway, I love my berry in any form of makeup. I can get it. Blushes, eyeshadows, lip colors. So that's really, really pretty. So you're getting a good amount of glow there. Like, this look is not screaming for highlighter, but I do have highlighter to talk about. Oh, there's my setting brush. It was just sitting there. Can I say I love these duos? I love these baked duos. I got one called French Poodle and French Almond. Okay, so we already know about baked French vanilla. Love that stuff. I'll show you. I've had my baked French vanilla for a long time. It looks just a little more like yellowy in tone, I guess, compared to what I'm holding here. But it's just the amazing skin perfecting kind of highlight, not too shimmery. If you really want to stay away from anything that might exaggerate any texture on the skin, but you still want brightness, that's what you want to go for. But then I tried this, and this is the French Poodle and the French Almond. So the French Almond is a little more just like the lights are turned down a little bit, you know, a little more beigey. And then there's the French Poodle. This is kind of like brighter than French Vanilla and deeper than French Vanilla. So I'm going to use that brighter shade. And guys, they nailed the texture of this one. Look at this gorgeousness. The perfect light just slapped on your face right there. I love how brightening. Shimmer content is minimal in this, but it is there. And it just, I don't know, it glows a little bit more than baked French vanilla, that's for sure. I'm gonna take a little bit and let it come up to the forehead so everything's working in harmony. I just think that French Poodle, like, where have you been hiding? That is outstanding. I love it. So basically to this point, I think my favorite things that I've tried, I do like the Real Deal concealer. If you're looking for a concealer that really adds some nice moisture to the under eye, I thought that made a nice contribution to the look today. But my favorite parts so far are these new baked things that I hadn't known about before. The Tuscan Sun bronzer, if you want shimmer, as opposed to the more matte Bronze and Brighten. This blush duo I think is really pretty. It kind of feels like blush and highlight together. And then the highlighter duo with the French Poodle and French Almond. And the French Almond is really pretty too. I just kind of felt like I needed to commit to that one today in this look. So those were great. And then I got the Spackle Mist. This says Restore on it, and it's coconut water, prime, set, and refresh. So this is a really nice sprayer on here. Not all miss. Love the scent too. Oh, they're doing something that smells almost like borderline a little perfumey, but it's not like weird, you know, I don't feel weird about putting it on my face. But it definitely, I think, is a nice thing to put on, at least a setting spray of some kind after you've done all these powder steps. Even though some of them are a little bit glowy, you put that mist on and everything's really looking one with the skin now. So I like this mist. I don't think it would have to be this mist. There are a lot of affordable coconut water infused mists out there. I'm thinking of the e.l.f. one. They have have a great coconut mist, but it certainly did spray out nicely, which is important. And I've tried high-end, you know, like $28, $30 setting sprays that do not spray out well at all. So that does matter. I mention it pretty much with every setting spray I used, and this one sprays really well. So next I have something called Sculpt and Stay Waterproof Brow Pencil and Gel. So yet another thing I'd never tried from Laura Geller. We have the exact same shape as the Wet n Wild here. If you're familiar with Wet n Wild's retractable brow pencil, it's got that teardrop shape. It's a thicker, you know, brow pencil. It's going to go for a quicker fill-in of the brows. And then on the other end, you do have clear gel, which is kind of neat, that 2-in-1 idea. It's going to hold everything in place. While I like that innovation, I do feel like I'm kind of running into a thing where I don't know that I'd need to spend Laura Geller money on this. Like, I'm really trying to keep myself in the shoes of, would I buy this on my own knowing what I know now? You know, because not everybody's gonna have boxes of free Laura Geller landing on their doorstep. I get that. But I'm just so sold on the Maybelline Brow Fast Sculpt as pretty much the best brow gel going right now. It's tinted and it holds like crazy, and I just think the brush design is absolutely brilliant with the longer bristles and the shorter bristles. Dang, I even talk about that in videos where I'm not using it. It's just so good, okay? This, you know, the brow pencil is fine. As you can see, it's doing a good job filling in. The gel is okay, but I've definitely used kinds that hold a little bit better than this. So, you know, if you're looking to make a Laura Geller haul and you were gonna run it by me, what needs to be included, I would say doesn't have to be part of it, you know? Although it is neat to have your little gel and your pencil together. Problem is what happens when you run out of one first. But anyway, I've got that in my brows. The dark brown shade is a very good like match for my hair. And then in with the gel. I can't get over that French Poodle highlight. Like, where have I been? In my world, if we're talking Laura Geller and highlights, it's like baked French vanilla is the thing. That's like what you need to know about. But no, French Poodle. That too. Guys, I've got new stuff from this brand right down to the eye primer. I got this Spackle waterproof eye primer in Fair to Light. So it's a twist up pen with a brush tip, which now that I've used it some, I've gotten it really going. Like, there's a little bit on the tip, but I don't typically like products like that. At first, when I was using this, I could never get the right amount pushed up to the top. It was always becoming too much. It's just a hard to paste thing, and I just prefer to have it out of a squeeze tube. But as you can see, I've completely neutralized my lids, and I do have good staying power with this. I'm even going to take it a little bit higher where I can see other like veins and discoloration right here. And it's just like wiping it out, but in a texture that's really well suited. Like, it's not too tacky, okay? You don't want too much tacky, or else you're gonna have stuff settling in your creases, and nobody's wanting that with the eye area. And that's why I always steer clear of getting a lot of foundations and concealers up in my eye crease. Some people say, like, why don't you just like get it up in there and then you'd be all neutralized? Well, that's because not every texture of every concealer and foundation belongs there, in my opinion. But this stuff was kind of made to be an eye primer, and it really is the right texture. And if you're wanting something that completely blanks out but is not too dewy or tacky, this is a good option. Now for eyeshadow, I got several of these things called Double Shot, and what they are is like a cream shadow underneath, and then on top you get a powder. So this one's called Cafe Americano, and it looks like it has like the dustiest of mauves maybe. I've got one called Cortado, and this one is more like a light champagne color and a very soft brown in the powder. And then I've got Espresso, which seems to be a matte shade here in the cream. Matte, like soft brown, and then a little bit deeper shade right here in the crease color. I think I'm going to try this Cafe Americano one today because I haven't really used that before. So I'm going to swirl my finger in this little pot of color, and I do not like how dry this feels. It's not like a super easy spread across the skin. Ew, and it's not really doing well on top of my spackle. Maybe spackle wasn't intended to be used like underneath the stuff. I know the spackle primer is fine paired with her baked shadows, but I kind of feel like it's picking up a little bit. Anyway, we're gonna keep working at it. I feel like I've got a ton on my finger. There we go. So I'm getting that pretty glow, and I have had good staying power with this stuff. I used it on another day, one of the other shades. It's a little bit hard to spread with the spackle primer underneath. Like I'm applying quite a bit of pressure to my eyelid to get that swiped on there. And there's still even more like, I think, shadow stick type things that I haven't even had a chance to play with yet. There's a larger baked palette. I have like one of the smaller baked Laura Geller palettes, and I really did like what was in there, but now I have a larger neutrals one. It looks like this. They sent the nothing but neutral. It's tons. Like, I really kind of feel like what I had already was plenty, but like every neutral option under the sun there. So anyways, I'm trying to get this like perfectly put on. I do have a very glowy feeling lid now. And then I'm gonna go to this powder and I'm gonna just give myself like a little bit of a crease. I'm just gonna take my Profusion crease brush. I'm getting a teeny bit of crease color there. Build it up a little. I mean, I realize this is going to be a soft look. I'm not real sold on this product. I'm seeing barely their crease. Definitely some sheen on the lid. Here's what I'm going to do. We are going to pull this in today. I'm going to keep it a light look, but I just need more, you know what I mean? I'll go to Thunder down here. Blend a little bit of that. These baked shadows, by the way, such an improvement has been made over years past. Like, I'm thinking about maybe 10 years back when I had tried Laura Geller baked palette style shadows. I remember singles and duos being really, really good, but then I had tried a palette once upon a time and it wasn't that good. And then I got that smaller neutrals palette and it was so nice. I was like, oh, wow, they've really softened up the formula, made it super pigmented. So, okay, there's Thunder. I'm just slowly building that up in my crease because I just didn't feel like I was getting much contrast out of the shade that was provided there. And you know, if I want a little highlight shade, I'm going to go up to Wind right here, like how all the shades have weather names. That's cool. And maybe I will, while I'm at it, just set my eyelid. You know, I do have a cream shadow all over, but wow. I'm going to throw my brush. I'm going to use something that kind of coordinates with what was there. I'll use Landslide. And I'm just going to dab over that cream. Not that the cream felt especially tacky, but I just don't want to get a weird look. Like it was a little bit hard to get it into my inner corner while I could get that full hard swipe of it across most of like the center of my lid. I couldn't quite get it all down in here. So this is just evening out my application. Okay, I'm still going to keep it a real light and gentle look like this, I think, because I just don't do that very often, you know? We've got another kind of innovative slash possibly gimmicky thing here, the Simple Strokes dual-ended eyeliner. So there's two ends, and they talk about, I think, the more pigmented end being used for your upper lash line, and then the softer end being used on your lower lash line. So they say creamy bottom lash liner glides easily along the base of the eyelid and waterline, creating an eye-opening effect. So which one is which? The end that has like the little stripe of the packaging, that's your more full colored one. You can really see the difference. They're like the same tone, but just different formulas, different feels and intensities. So darker to go across the upper and then like a softer liner to go on the bottom. So there's that liner. It's, all things considered, the layers of stuff that are going on my lid right now, it's actually going on pretty well. And did I say this is the shade Eggplant? So a really deep plum, almost hard to see the plumminess in it. I mean, how many of you have tried some of these different things from Laura Geller's line that just aren't, I don't feel like they're so well known, but there may be some super fans out there of the brand who are like, oh yeah, I knew about that. And continue to tell me in the comments section if there's under the radar stuff that I still have not used. Okay, so I kind of had to taper it off a little bit because it became pretty hard to get that color going super deep in, but that's okay. That's pretty much the way I'd want to wear it anyway. And then I'm going to use that softer side. I mean, the way I see it, you could take one liner and just by a lighter application and maybe a smudge brush make it softer, but I am putting this on my lower lash line. And seeing as I have a really light look, I will go ahead and just give that a smudge. I don't have anything on this smudge brush, but I'm just trying to soften that liner even more. To me, I'd see it as being more of an advantage to have like a shadow stick on the one end. And then you really can make it noticeably softer for like a smudgy lower lash line. But this is all right too. I mean, it's definitely unique. And then I'm gonna take some light liner to the lower inner rim today. My ABH double-ended pencil. This just opens up my eye. I don't think I have something like this from Laura Geller. Here we go. And then we're going to use the Love Your Body Volumizing Mascara. Now, I would have assumed Laura Geller had some sort of mascara, but I'd never really tried it. I think maybe I've tried one of her mascaras a long time ago. This has a very subtle hourglass shape. Bristles are not too long. It doesn't look too like intimidating and huge. I've used this and gotten some kind of so-so results with it, but it's now gotten a bit of age on it as well. Like it's been open for a period of weeks now, so maybe it'll perform a little bit better for us. You know how mascaras are. You just gotta let them live a little bit and then they do what you want. Yeah, it's not doing too bad. Separation is good. Pretty good. I want a little bit, you know, bigger, lengthened out look. We'll go back to that side. Like at first coat, nothing gets clumped together. It kind of reminds me of that Catrice mascara I used yesterday. Like it might take a little work and building, but you do benefit from having the look of a lot of lashes because they're not being all stuck together. And I can tell this side dried pretty quickly because as I go back for another coat already, I just feel like I'm going on top of a drier mascara. That's not too bad. That's acceptable. It's not in my, oh my gosh, I'm jumping up and down about this mascara sort of level, but it's not bad. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. And I'm just going to do a bit of my Thrive Liquid Lash Extensions on the lower, just because I know that won't smudge. It's a tubing mascara. Not saying the Laura Geller will smudge, I'm just saying that's not a risk I feel like taking today. Okay guys, we're moving on to lip colors, and I was sent just a variety of different things here. I've got some of her modern classic lip liners, a couple shades of that. I've got the Treat and Go Tinted Lip Oil. I've got one of the Jelly Balms, and I've got like a really classic lipstick here in the shade called Regal. Now I'd already had experience with her lipsticks that like go on and set. They're like a matte lipstick and they do dry down and they're great for long wear, but this is just more of like the classic lipstick. And you saw recently I tried that set of Italian marble lipsticks, which was not part of anything they sent me. That was just something I purchased myself off of QVC. So what I think I'm going to do first, since the eye is so light, I'm going to go for my deeper lip liner here in the shade called Beautiful Berry, and they call this a waterproof lip liner. It has a little bit of a tiny angled cut. It's still about the same size as a typical lip liner. I'm going to take this shade and get all outlined. See how that angle does give you a thicker line? These are so easy to put on, these lip liners. Super soft, creamy. Oh, another thing they sent was like a little grouping of palettes. This little a palette for all seasons, and it was 3 full face palettes. You know, I've purchased these before, especially around the holidays, and I'm not sure if this is like this year's holiday stuff or if it would be something else, but the way these are formatted, it's like a blush and highlight and 4 shadows. So there's like the summer one, there's a fall one, and there's a spring one there too. I don't know where winter is. They only do 3. Okay, so there I am all filled in with the Beautiful Berry lip liner, and I think I'll just go over that with some of the Jelly Balm, and this is in the shade Bigger Than Life. Oh, that feels good. And just swiping it on. That is a really nicely textured, balmy type product. You know, like creamy lipstick, tinted balm, but you know, very nicely pigmented there. That's the color you're getting with Bigger Than Life. Can't believe I hadn't tried that yet. I hadn't tried that formula from Laura Geller. I will swatch the tinted lip oil that I have in the shade called Runner Up. I used this a couple weeks ago, just kind of casual lip color on the weekends. Doesn't last real long, but does feel very moisturizing. There is a sheerness to that. Definitely a more sheer level on this than on this stuff. And then the classic lipstick that I have is in the shade Regal, and this is actually a really pretty, very classic pink right there. Pigmented, just couldn't be a more normal cream lipstick. You know, it doesn't have that swirled thing going on like the Italian marble ones do. One thing about that mascara though, it does seem to really hold the curl. It dries down fairly quickly on the lashes, so that does help to lock in the curl from your lash curler. But finished look, I mean, does the skin not look absolutely ethereal here? Like, I love the glow that I've got, and that really reflects, you know, some of my favorite products that I tried. The new baked stuff is really what stood out to me, or the new to me stuff. I really liked trying a more glowy option in the Baked Bronze and Brighten. The Tuscan Sun shade was really good. I love this blush duo, the Ethereal Rose and Subtle Satin Berry. Again, it almost feels like a highlight and blush combo, which is still super beneficial. And the French Poodle and French Almond highlight. That French Poodle, man, that's stealing the show of the entire look, I think. Brows were fine. The eye spackle, the spackle primer, if you're looking for something to just, I think, neutralize on your eyelids and work well mostly with powder shadow, I think that's what you want to do. I didn't think about the fact that the cream shadows in these little pots are kind of stiff. There's just not a real easy glide there, and it kind of tugged at the spackle primer a bit. But that baked palette, the overall big baked palette, is nice, but this is the size of the one that I had purchased myself, and I really feel like it's all the variety I need. There's some really beautiful shades in here if you like neutrals and like kind of rosy neutrals. The pigmentation is really great. So this is just like a little pared down version of that great big one. It's just a little more simplified. I love the lip liners. I've used both of them. That might be one of my favorite parts in terms of lip stuff as a whole from Laura Geller that I've ever tried. I think those lip liners are some of the best. They last a really long time. They're super duper creamy. The other things in terms of like cream lipsticks or this Jelly Balm, sure, I like the Jelly Balm, but it's kind of like, well, there's a lot of things on the market like that these days, so you may not need to spend like a high-end price for it. And that's sort of what I'm trying to just point out in this video is, if knowing what I know now, what kind of purchases would I make from this line? And I really think that it's the different shades and different options in her baked stuff that gets me the most excited, I would say. This Quenching tint was just okay. The Real Deal concealer was very nice for a hydrating concealer though. That's the little tube guy, okay? Mattifying powder, I think you can find that elsewhere and save. But yeah, guys, I hope this was informative. I hope this opened your eyes to some things from this brand that you didn't already know about, or maybe you are well versed in this and you're like, oh, I knew all about that stuff. Let me know in the comments section, and yeah, thanks for your time. I will see you guys soon. I love you. Bye.